Hello and welcome to The Woven Word. This is a series of programmes thinking about Ulster poets over the centuries, particularly a group of people known as the rhyming weavers or the weaver poets, who thrived during the 18th and 19th centuries. Looking at their poetry today lets us understand what life was like for ordinary working class people, because these rhyming weavers wrote about ordinary things like the weather and their neighbours and the landscape, and it's really interesting for us today to get their point of view. The series has been filmed in 360 degrees, and that means you can engage with the picture. So if you're at home using your computer and your mouse, move it around. Look to your left and look to your right and look behind you. Or for a fully immersive experience, put on a VR headset, and that'll be like you're right here with me. And where are we? We're in a wonderful old burial ground at Ballynure in County Antrim. Over 400 plots are recorded in this old cemetery with the wonderful trees and the great atmosphere. All around us are the names of Scots settlers, Logans, Douglases, Beattys. On the wall, if you look to your right, you can see a blue plaque which commemorates Jonathan Swift, the author of Gulliver's Travels, who served in this area back in the 17th century. The oldest gravestone is on this barrel-roofed vault behind me, and it records the burial place of Eleanor Clemens in 1628. She is said to have been an ancestor of Samuel Langhorne Clemens, better known to us nowadays as Mark Twain. There are some wonderful old graves. This steep-roofed vault behind me here, this is the burial place of the Dobbs family, who were the aristocrats in this area, and you'll hear a little bit more about Squire Dobbs in the poem that we'll explore at the end of this programme. Also buried somewhere, unmarked in this graveyard, is James Campbell, the subject of today's programme, the Bard of Ballynure. James Campbell was actually born in Cairncastle, which is further east from here on the Antrim Coast Road, in 1758. And he had a basic education there, but he showed an aptitude for numbers and for words, especially for rhyming words. And he had, say, some kind of education, but was also apprenticed at the linen loom. Weaving and working with linen were so widespread across Ulster in the 18th century. He got work as a journeyman then, which meant he would have travelled out and about, staying in different farmers' houses, working at the loom and weaving whatever suits of clothes they required. It was as a journeyman weaver that he came here to Ballynure, and he settled in Ballynure. He got married to a lady from Carrickfergus, and they raised a family of 7 children at the townland of Ballybrecken, about a mile outside the town here. But he found the work was monotonous, it was laborious, it was dull, and it was very, very much underpaid. He might have earned 10 shillings a week, and the days might have been 13 to 16 hours long, so it really wasn't easy for him. He composed poetry, though, while he was working at the loom. Now, this was not highfalutin stuff. He was a rhymer rather than a poet, and he never wanted to be published. He was writing rhymes for friends, and as soon as he had them written, he would send them off. It was said that he kept paper and an inkhorn at the loom beside him, and as the shuttle moved up and down, he would write these rhymes. They made him very popular. He was invited all the time to go to drinking parties and to friends' houses around the countryside, a very convivial man. A few of his poems now would be in praise of whiskey, and I think he certainly was popular on the circuit. He used his poetry as well to give off about the aristocrats, about the landlords, about the upper classes, who would certainly not appreciate his talent, but who would raise the rents of their tenants. He deplored the tithe system, whereby the mainly Presbyterian tenants in this area would have to pay a tenth of everything they earned to the Church of Ireland, even though they were Presbyterian. As a matter of fact, he was so poor that the rector of Ballynure took his name off the tithe roll because he couldn't even afford to pay it. But he would have lampooned or satirised or complained about these men in his rhymes. This was the era of the Society of United Irishmen, and his support for them, I guess, led to James Campbell being arrested and thrown into Carrickfergus Jail. He was released soon afterwards. There was no evidence of any wrongdoing, but his poetry and his writings were thought to be seditious, so they were all confiscated and never returned to him, which is unfortunate. He died aged only 60. He died in 1818. It was a huge funeral here because he was a member of the Masonic order, and it said it was a massive Masonic funeral. 2 years after his death in 1818, a collection of his poems were gathered together by a local schoolmaster to try to raise some money for his widow and his children. Interestingly then, 50 years after that, His poems were again gathered together and published, with some that hadn't been published before, and a very good foreword written by a man called John Fullerton. This was in 1870. So isn't it interesting to think that 52 years after James Campbell died, there was still this hunger for his poetry in his neighbourhood? So I'm going to talk to you now about a poem called Willie Work's Song. You're going to hear my friend Matt Warwick reading this for you. And this is written in beautiful Ulster-Scots. Willie Work is an older man, he's now 70, and he's remembering various periods in his lifetime when local men raised their voices, when they came out to protest. But now he's talking to the new generation who seem all too happy to put on the uniform of the militia or to act as spies. Listen out for words and phrases like, "It sears me, for it serves me." A sark is a shirt. Supple chiels are agile young men. Clad their weems means they clothed their bodies. Yens, you were a crappy loon. What does that mean? Well, once you were a United Irishman and you used to cut your hair very short in the cropped style of the French. So that's a very interesting phrase, a crappy loon. A creasy clut is a greasy cloth. He advises Squire Dobbs to dicht his specs, to clean his glasses. This is Squire Dobbs, whose family are buried in his vault here behind us. And you'll hear place names like Ballynure, Mackaystown and Bruce Lee. As you listen to Matt reading the poem, you'll see the words appearing on the screen. But if you're watching this at home on YouTube, you can expand the description and jump forward, and you'll be able to look at 360-degree panoramic views taken all around this part of Antrim. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit more about James Campbell, the Bard of Ballynure, in this beautiful surrounding. Thank you.
Willie Work's Song by James Campbell. Ye loyal lads o' Ballynure, frae Mackaystown to Blackbrislee, I'm sure you'll hardly tak it ill, a verse or twa frae yan like me. For 70 summers I hae seen the heather clad wi' bells o' blue, and mony an up and down has been since this old coat o' mine was new. My coat, the wool, keeps it the cowl. It serves me baith for coat and sark, but I would burn it before I'd turn it, while ere my name was Willie Work. In 70 we had hurts o' still, in 80 we had volunteers, and Ballynure had supple chiels, as by the county books appears. In 98 we armed again, to rych some things that we thocht wrong. We got sae little for our pains, it's no worth minding in a song. And now we've got a yeoman corps, selected frae among a tribe. The number reaches to a score, 15 for peats and 5 for pride. In scarlet they hae clad their weems, and at their side a dirk is hung, and sic a band o' bold yeomen, and poet's song was never sung. Yon Jimmy Park should silent been, for yance ye were a crappy loon. Ye bocht a pike at 7/13s, when other folks was half a croon. But nane o' it would you gie up, although by you were others 10. Ye rout it in a creasy clut, and skelton yet can shoe the stain. But here's a health to old Squire Dobbs, for he is a recht honest man, and if he would but dicht his specs, he then see matters as they stan. Willie Work's Song by James Campbell. Ye loyal lads o' Ballynure, frae Mackaystown to Blackbrislee, I'm sure you'll hardly tak it ill, a verse or twa frae yan like me. For 70 summers I hae seen the heather clad wi' bells o' blue, and mony an up and down has been since this old coat o' mine was new. My coat, the wool, keeps it the cowl. It serves me baith for coat and sark, but I would burn it before I'd turn it, while ere my name was Willie Work. In 70 we had hurts o' still, in 80 we had volunteers, and Ballynure had supple chiels, as by the county books appears. In 98 we armed again, to recht some things that we thought wrong. We got sae little for our pains, it's no worth minding in a song. And now we've got a yeoman corps, selected frae among a tribe. The number reaches to a score, 15 for peats and 5 for pride. In scarlet they hae clad their weems, and at their side a dirk is hung, and sic a band of bold yeomen, and poet's song was never sung. Yon Jimmy Park should silent been, for yance ye were a crappy loon. Ye bocht a pike at 7.13s, when other folks was half a croon. But nane o' it would you gie up, although by you were others 10. Ye rout it in a creasy clit, and skelton yet can shoe the stain. But here's a health to old Square Dobbs, for he is a recht honest man, and if he would but dicht the specs, he then see matters as they stan.